Hi everyone and welcome back. I wanted to do a little doodle, scribble, whatever for passing the time more than anything else and to talk to you. And so I just thought, why not get my plein air kit out, my watercolor kit, and this is part of it and the color is in there, and this is my main one. The reason that I don't do too much in here is because I tend to do panels like this that you can see. I don't know if you can see that too well, but I made this, I had some old leather and I made this little holder with some grey board, backing board, and I just literally tape, I don't know if I'm doing that too well for you to see, I just tape areas and have a few of these boards that I can go out and paint them, and I do carry some spare boards inside that I can use. So that's really what I tend to work from when I'm out painting plein air, and the whole lot sits in this little side bag that I carry. I've had this donkey's years. It's only a cheap one, but it really does do the job, and it holds everything I need, and I can go out on the beach in the springtime, summertime, anytime really, and just walk the dogs and sit and paint. And yeah, I love to do that. So I thought that I would just play around in my sketchbook and use some of my plein air implements, which they are here. Now I've got a series of different mark making pencils. I actually found this one, by the way. Those of you who saw a recent video where I said I couldn't find this, it turned up. So I've got that back. But these are other ones that I use. And a thicker one. This is a nice 6B lead in there, and that really is gutsy. It's a big, thick, 4mm or something like that. And then I have a series of these travel brushes. And these are really nice because I can just get these and take them all out, or take a couple out, whichever I feel. And that's just, so there's a nice little set. These are actually Rosemary and Company, but you can get this sort of stuff in from lots of manufacturers. I happen to like these ones, and yeah, they're just a nice little travel set of watercolors. I actually have them in an old glasses case just to keep them safe and not getting them dinked and dented, and that works for me. So this is my watercolor travel box. Now I actually saw this on eBay a few years ago now, and it was a, oh, if I can get it to come free, it was an apprentice piece. Now basically when an apprentice was coming to the end of his studies, he would do a final presentation piece of work appertaining to his skills and the apprenticeship. And I happened to see this one come up. This was done by a young apprentice shipwright, I believe in Manchester, back in about 1929 as far as I can make out. And it's very much the same type as you see from a lot of the commercial companies, including the big names like Winsor & Newton. It's just a travel pan set, and it's got a nice thumb holder there which just about goes over my thumb, and it's got a nice couple of pans for playing around with. And the colours, now when the colours came, they're all old and dried out, and I wanted to put fresh pans in, but I couldn't. These were particular designed for, well, not particularly designed for this, but they were of a certain size that would only work in this, so modern ones could not be done. So I took them out, cleaned them all up, and then put my own colours back in. Now there are sort of 15 colours in there, and they are very, very close to the amount, well, in fact they are the same 15 as in my main pan set, with the exception of one colour that is missing from that setup, which I can't fit that 17th or 16th one in. Anyway, I digress. So I thought I would just have a play, basically, and let's just see what happens. Now I also wanted to have a scribble, and I don't know where I'll put it. I have got a pen here. Now another artist suggested these pens. They've got a very flexible nib. Unfortunately, they are rare to find one. They're a very particular type of nib that can split and swell and change. And I felt that I would like to have one for drawing, as he does. I did look for ages, and I did find one come up. And unfortunately, I do believe that its size is the fact that it's a small piece on here. I should have realized, but I do believe that this would be, or would have been worn by a lady who would have had this on a chain somehow. I'm not quite sure how, but anyway, I use it. But the problem is that I feel that it's so old that it will not run the ink too well. Now this is where I'm going to get really messy, I'm sure, because I do get messy. But it will not take up. It may be that the little sort of bladder thing inside, whatever that is, needs to be replaced. And I don't know how to do that, or how to get it replaced, or where to send it to and get it done. But it doesn't take up a lot of ink, unfortunately, so its sketching ability long term is a little bit limited. Right, so what am I going to do? Well, I just want to have a little play, really. I've been painting and sketching, and actually what I do is I put this lid on, and that just extends the pen just a little bit for me to start working on. Okay, so I'm just going to be playing around and just seeing what happens, really. I just love the freedom that these little pens, or any pens really, doesn't have to be this one, but I just like scribbling. When I was a kid and we had religious studies, I remember very, very well, and we had a teacher who was a really nice gentleman. He was so softly spoken. In fact, he went on to marry the chemistry teacher. I believe it was a chemistry teacher. Not quite. I can't quite remember. It's so long ago. It was about 160,000 years ago. But yes. So anyway, he was a really nice chap, and although I wasn't so much religious in terms of, I used to have a Bible that was bought for me when I was much younger than that, and he liked the content of it because it had some really nice colour plates within it, and I used to sketch them, but I wouldn't just sketch them normally. I'd actually scribble randomly and create these images from scribbles, which was a lot of fun, gotta say. I'm enjoying this. Got no conception of how this is going to end up or where I want it to go. I just want it to be quite loose and free, and what happens happens. Actually, there's a bit of a pond here. I call it a pond, but actually it's not a pond. It's actually where the snow melt is, and just a little bit of a dirty big puddle. But it looks like a pond, and I'm going to turn it into a pond for the purposes of this little sketch. So where was I? Well, I was doing religious drawings from my Bible that was bought for me as a kid, and I had a lot of fun doing that. and he was always intrigued to see. Now you see this has already lost its ink, so I'm going to have to redo some more. It's rather frustrating really, because it's a lovely drawing pen, gotta say. Just wish it would take up more ink within the bladder. But such is, you have to do what you've got with what you've got and work on from there. The actual ink I use, I actually do have some other drawing pens. This is called Noodler's ink. It's made in the USA, and you can buy Noodler nibs in a variety of colours, and they are also very good drawing pens. That's what they were designed for, and as such I've got a couple of those kicking around, although I've got to say with those I haven't seen them in a while. But that is the ink that one uses for them. I hold that up, you can see that. I hold it there, you can see it just as well. And it's Noodler's ink, and I think it comes in different colours, but yeah. So that's what that is, Noodler's ink. But it's a permanent ink and can work very well for line and washes and all that sort of stuff, and change different aspects of your artwork. Once this is dry, I might just put some colour to it. Well, that's the intent, is to do a little line and wash type thing as I'm chatting to you, and see how that goes. And if I like it, I'll put it out and let you see it. And if you like it, you can let me know that. And by adding a comment to that effect, or a like button, or whatever. It's just a nice way of sharing a little bit of time with you on YouTube as I paint and chat to you. And yeah, hopefully you get something from it too. I actually did a chat like this a little while ago, and I really had a bad weekend, if I remember. And I painted a watercolour of an African landscape, or part of, and for a long while I didn't know whether to put the video out or not. And a friend of mine said, well, you should do, really, you took the time to do it. Although I did tell them that it was never intended. I filmed it, but I never intended the conversation to sort of take the tone that it did, in terms of being a little bit of a sort of a event in a way, just a random chit chat. Anyway, I did put it out, and it caught, well, it didn't actually catch anyone's imagination to begin with, but I've noticed very recently that it has actually caught a lot of attention, and I think everybody who's taking an interest in that particular video and sort of watching it and viewing it. And yeah, I just didn't think it would catch your imagination, but obviously it has. But I do enjoy doing stuff like this and just sort of chatting away as I go. I don't do enough of it. I do a lot of sort of how-to videos and tutorials, which are good fun. They're great to make. They do take a bit of time to make, but they are great to make. And but I thought for this one that, you know, it's a nice evening. Well, let's say it's a nice evening. It's darn cold evening. Winter is upon us, and it's making itself, or its presence, felt. I'm going to put too much in the sky, not pen work. I'll let the paint do that. This poor old pen. I have to put the type of, I'm going to look it up and remember the type of nibs that these are, because my glasses are not good enough to tell you from just looking at it. But there are marks on there. But they are really a lovely nib. That's what they were known for. And but to actually find one of these in great condition is not easy at all. I don't know if I do this tons of times, whether it will make any difference at all to its capacity. But we hope. There you go. So as I say, I think this is a lady's pen, but it's the only one that I could find, so I will stick with that. But I can't really, I can show you some of the marks. It can really make a thick mark, like so. Or it can make a very fine mark. And that's because there's a flex in that nib. It allows the two parts to spread but not damage anything and still allow the ink to pass through. And that's what makes them a real nice or really nice drawing implement. But I will keep looking on eBay and alike and see if I can't find myself maybe a better one. Well, I've got to say the ones I found or saw in the past are really expensive. So obviously their worth is well known, and if you want a good example, I suppose like all these things, you've got to be prepared to pay for it. And yeah, so that's really where it lies. Scribbles. I like scribbling. I like scribbling. Never quite know what's going to come from it. Maybe something, maybe nothing. I was drawing up here, but the ink's run out again. You know, I'm getting to the point where I can't keep going with this. I'm wasting more on the rag than I'm actually putting in the pen. It's rather frustrating. I will have to look for my noodlers and get one of those back out and make that work again. Although I dare say they need a thorough clean out. I haven't used them for so long. Alright, I keep putting the lid on. I know if I don't, I'm going to knock the whole of that ink over, and that's not good. So this is going to be the last go at this before I just put some colour on it and see what happens. This is a ridge line. It's actually near to a house that I used to live and own, near to where I live now. Not too far, about 4 or 5 miles, not far. But it was a wonderful area that was on a peninsula and a huge escarpment overlooking the lower parts of the Romney Marshes. So this is on the hilltop, and it was really pretty. And in the snow, which this is a picture of, it did change and become fantastic. And I think I'm pretty much there really as regards to what I'm going to put in terms of this pen work. And the wash or the painting is not going to be too much further than that, so this won't take too long to do, I hope. Just gives me a bit more time to ramble. Okay, I'm going to do enough of that. Nice pen, I just wish it performed a little better than it did, but hey ho, can't have everything. I'll let that dry for a second, make a few things clear and clean up my wet palette, my dirty palette, not wet palette, just clean this up. I love painting with this little palette outside. It's, I mean, I stand there and I can paint. I can hold something like this or a smaller piece in my hand, a smaller piece of paper that I prepared, and hold the whole thing and just paint away and enjoy myself, lose myself for a few minutes, and then I walk along the sand while that layer is drying and keep an eye on the dogs, and as soon as it's dry I can add another layer or complete the painting or whatever I was doing with it. So it's fun. Right, don't need that because I've got a big pot of water there, so that will suffice. Just dry this off. Okay, so I'm just checking that that little setup is visible. You can see all my colour, I hope. Just move the camera and everything. There you go. I think that's about right. So what I'm going to do now, I just want to see it and make sure it's pretty much dry, so we can carry on. I'm going to use a squirrel mop, and albeit that it's a much smaller one than normal, it still does its job. My colours are a bit dirty, I have to confess, but let's just see where we want to go. So I'm going to go off with some ultramarine blue to start with. Okay, get my colours mixed up. Easy done. I haven't seen this palette for a little while. Well, I've seen it, but I haven't been using it. Some lovely colours going on. I'm going to use a little bit of this Venetian Red into that and make a bit of a dirty grey colour. And I'm just going to put it on over. Now this paper, it's a what they call a moleskin book, and personally I'm not a big fan. I haven't yet found what I call an affordable what am I looking for the word? An affordable journal in watercolor paint. There are some about, but they just tend to be horrendous prices from people and sort of rather put you off buying one, so I haven't. But this paper is okay, but it's alright to document something, but it doesn't really hold the watercolor, the pigment, in a very nice way. It's not that good at doing its job, but it's all I have, and so it's what I shall use. Alright, well that's the sky, and it's a very quick sky, it doesn't need to be much. And I'm going to come on down with some bluey colours. I'm going to use some more of this, and I'm going to go in with some of that red, but I want to find my alizarin, or magenta in my case, and just make a pretty sort of soft violet blue in there. So that's quite nice actually. And I'm going to push that across some of these lower parts. Now the ink is still wet, I've noticed that, and it's picking up, but maybe that's not such a big problem. Doesn't need to be too heavy with paint. This after all is just a quick sketch. It's not a how-to, it's nothing like that at all. It's just to have a bit of fun with you guys. Now I think there is a purer colour. What have we got there? Trying to remember half my colours here. That is indigo, so that one is what I said. This one is phthalo blue. I had my suspicions, but I couldn't quite remember. I'm going to run that through there. Ink has run straight into it, so the ink should have been allowed to set up and dry off just a little bit more than I did. And a bit of cobalt into that. Lifting off some of this pigment. Quite a bit of shadow down through there. Yeah, in a way I quite like the way that this water's picking up the ink and making it run and move. It's still taking some of the finer lines and they're staying put, but where the line was a little thicker, hadn't quite dried, it's picked up and moved with the paint, which has softened the effect of the drawing. So I'm not unhappy with that actually. I'm going to put in, now I'm going to clean that off. And I want to make a nice warm colour with transparent orange. A bit more water in there, some red, some vermilion, and some Indian yellow. Just activate them. They haven't been, I don't think, you know, I actually don't think I've used this palette since the late summer, so it's just nice to get it out again. I always carry it in the car. You never know quite when you're going to get the chance to use it, so I always carry it around with me. I'm just going to put in some of this colour through here. It's going to pick up all of that ink, but that's not a bit, I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to just drop in a little bit of pure colour. Just a little study in a winter landscape that has got some beautiful warm and cool colours going on with it. It doesn't have to be too much. Just a very quick, very loose little study of the area. I'm going to put in the colour that I'm looking for. I'm going to use a little bit of the orange and a little bit of the violet and just put that water in. It's a darker, obviously much darker area than the snow around it. Picked up a lot of that ink again, which is not so bad, but a little annoying, I suppose. A little bit of the blue, a little bit of that. Just add a little bit of colour into that water. And take some out, just lift back with that cloth, that rag, just tease some of that colour back out and add one or two others in to let them settle down in that space. I don't know, we'll see. Right, now I'm going to be using some indigo, really heavy colour, and some nice Venetian Red to make a really dirty violet colour. But I want to come in with some of these little bits of gaps, tracks, whatever, into the snow, little marks and depressions that appeared, little dark accents up through the back here. And I want to clean that brush. I still want to get some more of that fresh orange colour. Just want to put it in there quite strong. It's rich and I want it to sort of display that rich colour. Not so bad. Anyway, where was I on? Can't remember what I was talking about now. Lost it. Never mind. I think I'm pretty much done with it really. It was just a suggestion of what was there. It's just a colour note in a whole raft of notes and colours that go on through this book and other books. This is just the latest one I'm working through, and I add to it as and when. But as I said earlier, that I do tend to work on larger pieces of paper because hopefully I do those to sell. And when I do something in here, it's never to sell. It's just very personal, and I don't get the chance. Really, well, that's wrong, isn't it? I do get the chance, but I choose to do the stuff for other things. A little bit of warmth in touching in places along there would be nice. One or two little taps of pure orange. Just tease that away, and the ink is actually very movable. But I think I'm pretty much done. I did want to suggest maybe a little bit of just a darker value to suggest one or two edges here and little reflections of the same in the water, just sort of suggesting that, you know, it really is water. I don't know if that's worked or not, really. I think it's just a nice study in blues and oranges, or complementaries. It's a snow scene for sure. It's a moody sky, which is showing that it's got snow in the cloud. And I think the rest is just sort of complementary colours working with each other. So I'm happy with that. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, then put some comments in the comment section below. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. I'd love to hear comments, and I'd love to see these subscriptions come in and help me grow the channel. And if you do like this format, and as time goes on, if I can sort of perfect doing this sort of thing and chat happily and consistently and not bore the heck out of you guys, then I'll do that and do more of them. Just let me know. And until the next time I put a video out, all the best to you. Happy painting. And yeah, keep your own diaries going, visual or otherwise. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye for now. Bye.